guys, welcome back to another video. First of all, happy 2022. This is my very first video of the year. I know I've been super inconsistent, but life has been lifing very hard this past month, like crazy. I was supposed to upload a quick getaway vlog, but I wanted to enjoy myself, so I really didn't pick up the camera. I started recording, but I did not finish it, so I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna upload that and give them half done content. I spent the new year out of Houston and I was very happy about that. Happy New Year's, you guys. I hope your new year is going fantastic. Mine is okay so far, but it's about to get better. I'm not claiming any negative energy this year. If you're new here, my name is LEKA, where all things are fashion, lifestyle. I'm not in too much of the beauty thing as of yet, but you know, we'll see what this year holds for us. So today, this video is going to be about basically becoming who I am today. Becoming who I am today. And as you guys can see, I put trigger warning in the title because there are some things that I'm going to be talking about that may trigger you if you are in a certain area of your life. And I don't want to, I don't want to catch anybody off by surprise. This is just going to be me talking about what I've gone through all the way up until now, because I do feel like in certain areas I have leveled up my life tremendously. I do have ways to go, but as of right now, like, I'm very, very, very proud of myself on how far I've come. And I just don't want to portray the image that I just got here and it was all rosy and peachy and everything is all good. No. If you know me, well, first of all, there's barely anybody on my YouTube channel who knows me because I deleted my social media, but we'll get into that another time. But those who actually know me know that this journey was not easy, and some of the things that I've gone through, I would not wish on my worst enemy. I will be talking about some things, and some things I'll leave out because of legal matters. But I just want to really just get into talking about, how I came so far, and how, sometimes you are not dealt a fair hand in life. And I think a lot of us can contest to that. So let's get into it. So I would like to make this a 2-part or a 3-part series. Really just, just breaking it all the way down. So, people, whoever has gone through something or whoever is currently going through something, I can be almost like a voice for you guys or something for you guys to relate to. So if you see me looking at my screen, I've created a whole 2022 content planner. So I'm just reading little bullet points off of that. So sorry if I keep looking this way. So this is part 1 of a caterpillar to a butterfly. I was dating someone who I was in high school with all the way up until 2017. And during that time that I was dating that certain person, I was young. Let's just start there. I'm going to give myself grace. I was young. I was, thought I was in love, was going to marry this person, blah, 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 blah. So I got pregnant in 2013, right? And I got pregnant in 2013 in my senior year, and I graduated before I gave birth, obviously. So that's not where things really started to, get bad for me, because I've always been financially independent. That's not the hard part about having kids for me. Is, oh, how you gonna have money? No, that's not the hard part for me. So this is not where the story gets bad. So fast forward up into that, I got pregnant again in 2015, and this is where the story gets a little rocky. In between those times, there was fighting. I mean, like verbal, not physical. There were fighting. There was cheating, and just real ghetto activity that I was not proud of at the time, and I tried to shy away from, but it always came to find me, being that it was, people were, if you cheating on somebody and the girl want to make herself known, then, people are young, people want to, do all of that type of stuff. So I was in college, got pregnant again in 2015. I was working 2 jobs while I was pregnant. I was a CNA for my grandma, may she rest in peace, and I worked at Sam's Club, all while I was pregnant. And then this is all while, I'm getting cheated on, verbally being abused. It was a hard time for me during that time. But I still didn't give up. Like I had my son, then I'm pregnant, so I'm not about to fold under none of that pressure. So eventually I had to quit Sam's because I was pregnant and I was still lifting heavy boxes, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more. I'm tired. Like, I can't do it no more. So I eventually started selling hair. And that's when I knew that, like, this girl, speaking about myself, like, this girl really got some power up under her. Like, the way I was selling hair in Houston, I had it sold up. I don't even lie to you. Like, I was making $5K a month off of hair alone. And I was 2021 at the time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. This was in 2015. So I did all of that, bought all my daughter's stuff, just spending, buying all this stuff, just so, because I'm about to give birth. This is in April 2015. So, I have my baby. Fast forward, I'm skipping the parts that don't matter. I have my baby, 2015, still going through the cheating, still going through all of that. This is like probably a week before I had my baby. Still, getting cheated on, still being texted by other girls, all of this. Then there was even someone that his brother was dating that I thought was my friend, and she was helping him cheat on me with her friend. Isn't that a mess? I'm so glad I've grown, y'all. Glad I've grown. But this is not even where the story gets bad, y'all. So I have my baby. I have my baby 2015 of April, right? Fast forward to 2 months. No, April, May, August. Yes, fast forward to 2 months. I find a little knot on her shoulder. Meanwhile, all this stuff is still going on. All this stuff is still happening to me. And sorry, I left out that I was living with him and his mom at the time. So, fast forward 2015 of August, I find a lump on my daughter's shoulder, and I'm thinking, like, is this a mosquito bite? Is this like what? Like, what is this? And she seemed like very uncomfortable at the time, and I was like, okay, this can't be a mosquito bite, because a mosquito bite, you can tell, like, it's raised a certain way, like on the skin, and this was like more of like a knot or a bump, and I was just like, what is this? Like, what is this? So I'm sorry, it was not August, it was July. I found it in July. I'm so sorry. I found it in July because it was my little sister's birthday, and she went with me to the hospital. So I found the knot on her shoulder, and I was like, I wonder, like, what is this? Like, I showed my mom, I took pictures of it, I Googled it on the internet, I showed her other grandma, and I was like, okay, something is wrong. So I took her to the hospital. We went to a certain hospital. We went to that hospital first, and they couldn't find exactly what was going on, because I can't say the name because of legal reasons, but that certain hospital, they accused me of dropping her. They said, are you sure you never dropped her? And mind you, the bump was like right here. So if I would have dropped her, I don't see how I could have, I just don't see how I could have dropped her right there in that sense. So they accused me of dropping her because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They did ultrasounds. They did x-rays. They did like different type of scans, and they just couldn't find out what was wrong. This doctor at that hospital had a friend at Hospital B. I'm not gonna say the names of the hospital. I can't. They had a friend at Hospital B, and we got transferred to Hospital B, me and my daughter, through an ambulance. And we stayed at that hospital overnight for probably 2 or 3 days. And so we were there. They didn't really do much. All they actually really did was schedule us an outpatient doctor's visit to a certain clinic, and they did their x-rays, they did their ultrasounds, they did their, the whole thing that Hospital A did. And I'm just like, okay, like, what is this? Like, is this, like, why are we doing this, basically? So then they had to release us because they couldn't find anything. I'm just like, okay, this is just send me home, send me and my baby home so I can figure out something on my own, because I'm the Google queen. But I will Google something so quick, like, and y'all gonna see, because I started knowing more than the doctors down the line. I was like, this is crazy, but let me not veer off. So they eventually discharged us, and they still couldn't find nothing. So then I took it upon myself to, no, I'm sorry, they couldn't find anything. So Hospital B referred us to Hospital C, and this is where things get really bad. This is all within probably a 2 weeks time. So they referred us to Hospital C after visiting them. And Hospital C, they're really like a outpatient clinic. I'm not even going to call them a hospital. They don't even get that much respect to have that name. So we get referred to Hospital C. I'm young, I'm a black woman, and they see me with 2 kids, and they already have their perceptions of me. They already have their their stereotypes that they have in my head, because I'm young with 2 kids. So it's like, who's this black girl? And I was already younger looking than I actually was, so they already was judging me times 10. So I'm going to the hospital. I went to that outpatient clinic, C. We're gonna call it C. And we go there. You do the same exact thing that everybody else does, but where they messed up at was, during this time, they still couldn't find anything like everybody else. And we went through the whole ultrasound process. We went through the whole x-ray process. The doctor touching on it, poking it, all this other stuff. Mind you, it's still kind of like a small, decent size. So, they sent us home with paperwork, and they said they were going to follow up with the results. So within this time, we waited. We waited at least a month and a half. I'm not kidding you. We called them. They didn't answer the phone within these 6 weeks. We left voicemails. They didn't answer the phone. We're like, hey, this thing is growing. Like, this thing is massive on her shoulder. If we're talking about a baby, we're talking about a 3-month-old. A 3-month-old. So not much bigger than a oversized watermelon, if you want to be honest. Like, so we're calling them. They're like, oh, the doctor's out. Oh, he's busy right now with another patient. Because I'm a black young mom. My baby's not important, because I'm a minority. That's how it goes in the medical field. So we're calling. We're leaving voicemails. We even recorded conversations, because it's like, nah, this is negligent at this point. Mind you, within this whole time, it's growing. It's literally growing overnight. I'm not even joking. And it was to the point where we got them on the phone and we recorded them, and we was like, hey, y'all are not calling us back. You guys took us on as the patient, and now you're neglecting us. And they were like, oh, well, we're very sorry, we're busy, blah, blah, blah. To the point where they were even getting an attitude with me for calling back to back. And I'm just like, I'm concerned about my daughter. I don't know what this is that's growing on her. Like, I really don't know. So I got tired of waiting on them. I'm like, you know what? They're not the only doctor in the world. Let me try to figure something out. So my mom told me, she was like, hey, Leka, take her to Texas Children, the one in Katy. And I was like, okay, fine. Let me take her to in Katy, because I guess these people said, you know what? We're not worried about these black people. Let us get to them when we want to get to them. So I take her to Texas Children, the emergency room, and I showed the front desk person what was going on. She had me fill out paperwork. No, she had me sent back to the room immediately, because when she felt it, it was actually warm to touch, and it was starting to become very red and inflamed. So when I got sent back to the room, there was a nurse who came in, and she looked at it, and you know, she talked to me. She was playing with my baby. She looked at it, and she was like, okay, let me go and get someone else to see. Because within this whole span of everything, so from July all the way into August, every single doctor that has come into contact with my daughter was looking at her like a science project. They was like, oh my God, we never seen anything like this before. What did you do? What happened? Any history in the family? What were you eating when you were pregnant with her? When was she due? When did you have her? Etc., etc., etc. And then they even asked me what country was I from. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, does that actually matter? What country am I from? Like, what are you talking about? So back to us being in Texas Children, she went to go get another nurse. And this nurse was a young Asian nurse, and I still remember her to this day. And I've seen her this year. I don't think she remembers me. So this nurse, she looked at it, and she looked at me, and she didn't say anything. And I kind of knew something was wrong then, because after she left out, there were about 6 other people who came in the room and surrounded us. And I'm just like, what is going on? And none of them said anything to me. And I guess they didn't want to alarm me, because I'm just like, I'm just thinking like, is this a boil that needs to be popped? Like, what is it? So there then was this, I would never forget it. I think that man was an angel sent from God. He was a very tall Middle Eastern doctor that came in. He had on a white coat, of course, because he was a doctor. So immediately when he seen it, he automatically knew that my daughter had cancer. And I'm just like, what do you mean she has cancer? I don't have no family history that I know of, I should say, because that's a whole nother story that's going on that I'll get to it probably in part 2 or part 3. So he's like, oh wow, she has cancer. And he says it in a way that he does not want to alarm me. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, what? I was there by myself. As I said, the person that I was with was not present at the time. He was young, with other women, blah, blah, blah. This is no way to bash anybody, but at the same time, I will tell my story exactly how it happened. And I'm not going to sugarcoat or minimize my feelings in the situation, because this story is about me, no one else. So I was there by myself at the time, and I remember I had this Android phone, this one right here. So I remember at the time I had this Android phone, and I was just laying in the hospital bed with my daughter, because she didn't want to be in the bed by herself, because it was, you know, it was cold. It was so many people in there, and they just all around her, surrounded her, poking and probbing. So I'm just laying in the bed, and I'm just on my phone. He comes in, he's like, I can most definitely tell you that this is cancer. So I'm just like, you know, I'm 20 at the time, so I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm here by myself. It's so many people in the room that they saying all this stuff and giving me all these forms and rushing and doing this and doing that, and I'm just like, it was like I was almost in like a trance almost. And I'm just like, what is happening? So they eventually, so we stay in that room we stay in the room for the rest of the day. Just filling out forms, going over stuff. She had to go get x-rays and all of this. And I'm texting my mama like, Mama, they saying Juju got cancer. My mom's like what? How do you know? And I'm like, well, this is what the doctor's saying. Like, he automatically knew. And I'm just like, my mom was just like, well, we don't have nobody in the family that has cancer. Like everybody was too stunned to speak. Even to this day, like, I'm still like speechless about it, just because, like, damn, like that. Anyway, so sorry, this is, getting me a little tight in the chest. So within that time, we stay in that room for the rest of the day, and we didn't get transferred to our actual, hospital room until the end of the night. And a young black doctor comes in. She's a black woman. I would never forget her, ever. She was my height, as dark and pretty as I am, and she had dreads. And she was like, she sat down on the bed and looked at me. She was like, me and the other doctors are concerned about you because you just seem like you don't understand what's going on. Like, you seem very calm. And I told her, I said, I do not know what's going on. Like, this is, like, I've never, ever dealt with anything like this before. Not that has my family. And I'm like, a 2-year-old? Like, I know that kids can have cancer. But I'm like, I just didn't know it could happen to me. Why? I don't know. I wasn't excluding myself for any particular reason. But I was just like, I understand what y'all are saying, but I still haven't come to terms with it that it's actually it's actually happening. Like, this is real. So she sits down next to me and she's like, yes, ma'am, this is very much real. And she went over the different chemotherapy treatments with me. And I'm just like, can you please break this down into a way that I can understand this? Because I'm telling you, the words that they were using were 12-letter words that I've never seen before in my life. And you talking about somebody that just had a baby in 2013, graduated in 2013, just had a baby in college, then have another baby a year and a half later. So I'm like, I haven't even experienced life yet. Like, what is this? Like, what is happening? So she's going over these forms with me, and she's like, oh, well, she's going to need this chemotherapy. And the only thing that stuck out to me was her saying, we don't know what this is, and we can't, there's no actual treatment for her cancer because where it was located, which was right here, and then it was in other places as well that I'm going to get to. So she said that there's no actual treatment to, get rid of it. And then another thing that stuck out to me was she said that the chemotherapy that they have to put my daughter on is going to cause another cancer. And I'm just like, what do you mean the medication that you're giving is going to cause another issue, another fatal issue, mind you? And I'm just like, well, why would I agree to this when it's going to kill her anyway? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So she says that, and I'm just like, well, what option do I really have here? Like, it's either I'm going to try my best to save her or not do nothing at all. So, I signed the forms. I'm only 20 years old. I don't have no medical history. Nobody in my family did as well. So I signed the forms, and we eventually, got her started on treatment. And, sorry. We got her started on treatment, and it eventually worked. It it maintained the tumor. And we got sent home. They had to put the port in her chest. They put a port right here, then they put a port right here. Just poking my baby all types of ways. Of course, they did the biopsy and everything else. So this is August. This is the middle of August. So I went from July all the way to August. So she was born in April. We found it in July, diagnosed in August. And that huge gap right there is because place C dropped the ball. So now we're at Texas Children at the end. I can actually say their name because they're not involved in any legal issues. So we're sent home. She has the port in the chest. She got the port right there and all of this. So, you know, we just going to her chemotherapy treatments every week. And sometimes, some days are good, some days are bad. Sometimes her platelets are low. Sometimes her platelet count is high. And fast forward to probably a few months, you know, her hair started falling out. You know, the whole, you know, story of the cancer thing, like, you know, the ball and all that. So everybody's just still in awe, and I'm still in awe as well. And it's just like, damn, like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, God, what have I done so wrong for this to happen to me? And like most of my between 20, 21, and 22 was spent in the hospital. Like, I really didn't, like, even on Christmas, even on New Year's Day, on my birthday, like, all of those days were spent in the hospital. And sometimes, like, I still can't remember anything about other events that happened in my life because during this time was so traumatic that it, like, most of the good stuff is blocked out. And that's why sometimes, like, if you guys see me, like, staring blank into space or kind of, like, backtracking or leaving out parts, because I really don't remember some stuff, because it's like, my therapist told me it's more of a PTSD thing that's going on. And fast forward to, you know, she went through her Christmas, she went through her birthday, she learned how to walk, and the tumor's still there. They was able to maintain the size, but then it eventually grew. So then we went back to the hospital, you know, to have her x-rays and everything like that, because it was like, okay, why is this thing not going down at least? So it eventually spread to her chest, it spread to her lungs, and it spread to her brain as well, and down right here as well. So they actually told us, like, this is spreading, we can try radiation, but she'll lose her arm. And then I gave her a time limit to live, and I was like, oh, well, this, you know, this is going on. And most of the appointments I went to by myself, because he was either working or with somebody else or with his brother. He did come to some appointments, I won't take that away from him. He did come to some, but it was me who was, you know, doing all of the emotional footwork of everything. Which I'm happy I did, because, you know, that gave me, I'm here to tell my story, you know, and I don't feel like I regret anything. So they said we can do radiation. I turned down radiation immediately. I'm like, no, I want my baby girl to grow up as normal as possible. And I was like, looking back at it now, I'm like, was that selfish of me to say that? To turn down radiation and, you know, maybe have her still here and just without an arm, as crazy as that sounds? Or did I do the right thing? And I was like, did I do the right thing? You know, did I, you know? So, yeah, I turned down radiation, and within that time, they was like, okay, they had me sign forms saying I turned down radiation, and within this time, like, it's growing, it's, you know, So, you know, when we go out in public, people see the tumor and people go, oh, what's that? Or like, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, well, you know, she was diagnosed with cancer. And I remember one time I was at the post office and I was dropping off, I believe I was shipping hair. And it was this real nice Nigerian lady. I had on a romper on my baby girl, and her shoulder was so big that the romper kept falling off. If I put it up there, it was gonna smash the tumor, and I didn't want it to, you know, burst inside of her. So it's a real nice Nigerian lady, and she tried to like give me something to cover it up because people were staring. And she was saying something, but I really, you know, I was just trying to help and get in and get out. And I was like, thank you so much, and I left. Fast forward from there, you know, they really not doing much but giving her medicine to, you know, maintain her comfort, basically, because they did give her a timeline to live. So we're going back and forth to the hospital, still getting chemotherapy, going to get the blood transfusions, and all of that. So, you know, within the amount of like probably 3 months, her hair grew back. Like, because eventually we stopped doing chemotherapy, and her hair grew back and everything was fine. When I tell you y'all, hair grew back in a way that I've never seen before. It's like the chemotherapy almost changed her. It changed her skin. It changed her hair texture. It was so beautiful. Then it changed her, like she didn't grow any teeth on the side. And they did tell me that was going to be a side effect, that some teeth won't grow. So eventually, I don't know how it eventually took a turn for the worse, but I remember having to move downtown in some lofts right near the hospital because they put her on hospice. And at this time, it had spread to her brain and she couldn't walk anymore. And during that time, you know, she still had her hair, still had a port. The port just stopped working eventually. Like, they had eventually, I would say, yeah, I want to say they gave up. And the knot on her, like, when I say it was massive, like, I'm talking about, like, imagine a 1-year-old with 2 big cantaloupes weighing her body down on her shoulder. It was like that. We eventually noticed that she can't walk anymore. She still had on diapers because, you know, we couldn't potty train her. She was sickly, and potty training was the last thing on my mind because, you know, I had bigger fish to fry at the time. So during this time when they put her on hospice, I did not know what else to do. Cause I'm like, I know that we can save her some type of way, and because those doctors don't have the final say so, and sometimes they mean well, but they don't know what they're talking about. So I eventually started her own Instagram page called Hope for Juju, and it's still up. I reached out to news anchors. I reached out to ABC. I reached out to Isaiah Carey, Fox. I reached out to Shade Room. I reached out to a lot of different gossip blogs. And news media, ABC 13, was going to give me an interview. And on the day that they was, literally at the time and day that they were supposed to come, they texted me and said that, I'm so sorry, we cannot come. Like, this story cannot be, you know, we can't make the story. And I have screenshots of that as well. So I'm just like really? Like, I'm literally pleading across the world for help. Like, at this time, it had gone viral in a sense. And it didn't go viral by any news media. It didn't go viral by Shade Room. It didn't go viral by any blog. It was by me posting it. And it was this Ghanaian girl who had the same thing, but she had hers under here. And I believe she still lives in Canada. And she told me that the hospitals gave her the same diagnosis. And she eventually took medicine to her own hand and was eventually able to have hers reduced and dissolved. But she went all the way vegan. And by the time I tried to get my daughter to go all the way vegan, she was kind of too far along in the, you know, diagnosis. So I started her a Instagram page, you know, telling my story exactly how I'm kind of telling y'all, but, you know, in a shorter way. I uploaded photos, you know, I asked everybody to repost it, to follow it, etc., etc. So when I sent the story to Shade Room, they only viewed it and then they sent me back a heart. And I'm like, damn, like that's all I can get. Like that's all I can get, and which still kind of hurts to this day, because there was another woman and she was kind of like social media famous, and her son had the exact same thing wrong with him. He was way older than my daughter, but he had the exact same thing wrong with him. And Shade Room followed this story from day in and day out, posting, bringing awareness to all these people that I tried to reach out to. And I'm like, was it because I didn't have enough followers that y'all didn't respond back to me? Like, what? I just still don't understand to this day why Shade Room only sent me back a heart. And to this day, I don't follow them, because it's just like, to me, that really hurt my feelings. So I'm just like, you know, reaching out to celebrities. I think I reached out to The Game. I don't know why I reached out to him. I reached out to so many people. Like, any name that was coming up in my brain, that's who I reached out to. So some weeks had went by, and I reached out to Zane. Zane is the book author of the erotic books that we all, you know, in the TV show. So I reached out to her, and I have the email, I have everything that I sent her. And I'm asking her, like, could you please, like, post this to get awareness? And this is around Christmas time, or a little bit before, a little bit after Christmas time. Like, hey, could you please post this? Because I don't know what else to do, and nobody's willing to help us. So I sent it to her. She posted the story. I'm completely honest. I sent pictures and everything. It did not work out the way I thought it would. It did not work out the way I thought it would. So I'm like, I sent her the pictures and she posted for me. I sent her an email and everything, which I uploaded. And she posted a story, and I went to the page to see if anybody, reading the comments to see if anybody can give me any information. And I did not get the help that I thought I would. I did not get the help that I thought I would at all. Like, I was very, very shocked, and still am very shocked to this day, how Zane handled that situation. How she actually let all of her supporters attack me. How she would not defend me. How I'm 20 years old coming to you, another black woman with a platform, with an entire platform to plead for help across the world, because you have that reach, or at least I thought she did. And she actually did not stand up for me the way I thought she would, and the way I wanted her to. And this is the only person that I reached out to that responded. Well, she didn't actually respond, but she just posted it. But it brought me so much negativity. It brought me so much. Still to this day, I have PTSD from this entire situation. For me, like, that really hurt my feelings. I'm like, girl, like, you are well known within the black community. And this another black woman coming to you because her child is dying. Her child is actually dying, and this is what you do? That, it really disappointed me, because even to this day, it disappointed me. And I just think she's the biggest fraud ever. I will not ever support her ever again. And I don't want to be like a bitter person, like, why didn't you help me? But that particular situation within this whole thing is what really hurt me the most, is because all my life I felt so like pushed to the background, or what I have to say don't matter. And this particular situation with Zane, the author, really, really, really just put the icing on the cake for that. And I'm sorry, I'm at the point where it's like, it's not that I don't forgive her, but I will, sorry, my camera cut off. But I was saying that I will never support anything that she has going on. I follow her on all social media accounts because that used to be my girl. Like, I used to read, we sneak and read, sneak and watch stuff. So it's like, dang, it really hurt me. It really did. Like that particular situation, it really hurt me. I want to wait until part 2 to go into detail to tell you guys what Zane actually failed to do, because I don't want to make this part 1 too long, because I am really eager to get my story out there, because I feel like I have been silent for way too long, and I want to be a voice for people who don't have a lot of followers, because I don't have a lot of followers. If you guys can see, I only have 55 subscribers on here. I mean, I'm not one of those social media famous people, but at the same time, my voice does matter, and so does everybody else's with a small following. I just want to be a voice and want to tell my story, because not everything that y'all see is all rosy and peachy, and not everybody had an easy, you know, success story. Just because you see a pretty face behind the camera, you don't know what this person has gone through. So I'll see you guys for part 2, and we shall see each other soon.